We want to share the top travel mistakes we've made traveling all around the world and how you can avoid them and save a lot of money.
We've been to 94 countries over the years, and we thought we were pretty savvy travelers, but we've made mistakes here and there, and it just goes to show you there's always something you can learn.
So let's go ahead and jump into our very first tip. One thing we did for quite some time is really neglected hotel status. Status from Marriott, Hyatt, Hilton, and IHG. There's a lot of amazing benefits from earning the highest status. For instance, Platinum Elite at Marriott or Globalist at Hyatt comes with some pretty incredible perks. One of the mistakes I made is I was always looking for which hotel's in the best location and maybe best deal. And I wasn't focusing in on, hey, I really should try first to find a Marriott hotel or Marriott branded or a Hyatt branded or IHG. It's hard to focus on just one brand if you're traveling a lot like we are, because some cities, some countries, some states have a lot of Marriotts and no Hyatts or vice versa. So you want to focus on at least two programs. Then you want to make sure that you always look to reserve those first, because if you can get, for example, to Platinum Elite and Marriott, yeah, you can get room upgrades, which can be amazing, but early check-in, late checkout, I'm talking like 4 o'clock checkout. That can save you from having to get another night of a hotel if you have a late flight. The lounge access in a lot of these hotels many times comes with free breakfast, many times with enough for dinner, free drinks. It can be significant savings just having that lounge access. That's why I wish we would have probably spent more time early on being smart and having a strategy and focusing on a couple different brands and booking into those brands. One huge thing that we changed this year is now we're going to earn elite status, Platinum Elite with Marriott, Globalist with Hyatt, one of the highest statuses with IHG, just by making this more of a focus. And we have also de emphasized Airbnb, because my biggest complaint about Airbnb, there's no loyalty program. They give you nothing. So we were booking so many nights last year, maybe 100 nights in Airbnb last year. They don't even say thank you. So I say focus on hotel and getting the highest statuses.
I always thought that once you booked a rental car, your hotel, your cruise, or your flight, then that's it. That's what you're paying. I had no idea that you really, it behooves you to go back and check your pricing and see if it's come down. Often it drops, and you can cancel your booking and then rebook at a lower price.
This has been something that saved us a lot of money, really, particularly this year. Like Monica said, I would typically, if I could, I would book a non refundable, because I found that usually the rate was lower. Like on hotels, they'll usually give you a discount, it might be 5%, 10% if you make a non refundable. But that really boxes you into a corner. If you're not going to make that trip, you're booking it 6 months, 9 months, a year in advance, you're giving that hotel or car rental the money in advance. I'd rather not give them all the money in advance. I'd want to have the ability to cancel if I need to.
Mhm.
If I take the refundable rate, the cancelable rate, like Monica mentioned, we can go every few weeks, once a month. We can check if rates have gone down. You just cancel that booking and immediately book at the new rate. I have done this probably 10 different times this year with hotels, and it's gone down on those bookings compared to what I originally booked. Not all the time, it's no guarantee. Car rentals, there was one time where we had landed and I checked and it was almost half. I think I saved like $400. I canceled the reservation and booked it again immediately. I think it went from $800 down to $400. And cruises, I've typically found we get such good deals with our strategies on cruises. I have yet to have one that's gone down enough to do rebooking, but I know people who, before the final payment is due, have absolutely been able to go ahead and call the cruise line and have them either rebook or give them a credit, an onboard credit for the difference. Hotels and car rentals, though, there are definitely price tracking tools you can use, but the simplest thing always is just make sure that you book flexibility. Pick the refundable rate. I know it's hard. It was hard for me because sometimes I'd be paying more because I wasn't selecting the refundable rate. However, the one time in the year where we had to cancel and I didn't get back $1,000 or $2,000 more than covers all the times you may save 5 or 10% by prepaying. So unless you're sure you're going and you don't want any flexibility, go ahead and make sure it's cancelable. Plus, another reason is you might find that rates on other hotels or car rentals have changed in the meantime. So you can check the same hotel, but when you were doing your research, there were other hotels and car rental options that were higher. They may have also come down. So you can just cancel and book a brand new one. I would say the hit rate on this is 50% of the time. Just by following this, that we'll be able to get some sort of savings. And it's added up to thousands of dollars in the past year.
Plus, you're not giving them all your money up front. It's shocking to me how often these rates fluctuate. Another mistake that we made over the years was ignoring our credit card multipliers. You have a lot of credit cards, and each one offers benefits. Sometimes they give you twice the points back for travel or for dining. You have to use them strategically, and we haven't always done this. So you need to have a look at your credit cards, figure out what benefits they offer, and be sure you use the right card when you get 5x on dining, for instance, or 3x on travel, gas, groceries, entertainment.
I would say we probably missed out on tens of thousands of points, and it makes me sad. I'm weeping right now thinking about that business class flight I probably could have paid for just by paying closer attention to this. The good news is I have a hack on a default card that I'll recommend in a moment here that at least has made up for my mistakes. Let's just say that you have several of these cards. A lot of you out there probably have multiple different cards. It's really smart to know which card you get the highest multiplier in travel. If you have a Chase Sapphire Reserve, which Monica has, it's 3 times the points on any charge for travel. I can tell you right now that we probably put travel charges on our card 10% of the time. Most of the time, we just haven't because I don't always have the card with me, but that's a strategy we can fix. I can get the number or have her go ahead and put that in. So we have definitely missed out there. But if you know that, hey, travel, of all my cards, which one pays you the most? In dining, I have the American Express Gold. That pays 4 times at restaurants. Do you know how often I use the Amex Gold when we're at a restaurant? Probably about 20% of the time. We have recognized that we've been making this mistake. The same goes for groceries, for gas. What you want to do is make a grid and write out your top categories, which of the cards you have, look it up at that website, and know which one is the best. Friends of ours, and what they did, she actually put a sticky note, I believe, on each card, and it would just say travel dining, 2x, 3x. If you're traveling with a bunch of cards like we do, traveling full time, if you have it right on the card, you're not going to forget. So when you grab 3 cards, you go, oh, okay, this is the one for dining. When you do this a few times, you're going to memorize it automatically. Thankfully for me, what's bailed me out is that I've used this Capital One Venture X card for most of our purchases, probably for the last couple of years. On this one, it gets 2x on all purchases, along with the regular Capital One Venture also gets 2x. So it bailed me out. So even though I didn't always get 3x or 4x, in most cases, I always got 2x on everything. And their points are highly transferable, which is great. You can sometimes book through their portals, their travel agencies like Capital One's or American Express. And yeah, you can get up to 10x. And that's incredible. But remember, you may not always get your perks. Use your Marriott points or get credit for that travel. I still like booking direct as often as possible, but there's definitely times you may want to take advantage of 5x or 10x. $1,000 charge here is going to get you 10,000 points. These are just things you want to be aware of.
It takes a little extra effort, but it can really pay off.
So if you want to use my cheat, get the Venture X card from Capital One. Right now, these can change depending upon when you're watching the video. You can use the QR code or the link. They're offering 75,000 bonus miles. When I've transferred that to other airlines, almost always I can get at least one business class ticket with 75,000 bonus points. If you're in economy or premium economy, you can get 2 or more tickets. You just have to have a $4,000 spend in the first 3 months, but it comes with all kinds of other benefits. Now, I will tell you, this card does have a fairly high annual fee. It's $395. However, if you use the $300 travel credit through Capital One Travel, it's just $95 for the year. These points alone are worth many multiples of that, and plus a host of other really great benefits. Their lounges, if you can find a Capital One lounge at your airport, top notch. My favorites between them and Centurion from Amex, it's quite a battle. And you also get Priority Pass lounge access as well. If you go to that link, it will go ahead and give you all the details. And if you want to sign up, we'd appreciate it. We do get a referral commission from that. And with our thanks, if you decide to do that and use my hack.
You want to maximize your credit card bonus offers. This means each credit card has different things that they offer for bonuses. For example, Venture X offers $300 just for booking through their portal. You get a $300 travel credit from Chase Sapphire Reserve. MX Platinum has Uber credits as well. You'll get credits for every Uber ride or Uber Eats.
So the mistake we've made here is similar to the one before. Sometimes we let one of these bonuses we're receiving expire, meaning we didn't take advantage of it for the year. This is a good example. I had forgotten that the Capital One Venture X, you need to book through their portal to get it. As opposed to the Chase Sapphire Reserve, they'll give you a $300 travel credit on anything on your credit card. So again, this is just knowing your benefits, knowing your perks. And it might almost seem logical, but when you're like us, when we're traveling all the time and we're planning constantly our itinerary, and we have a lot of cards, it's pretty easy to quickly forget about some of these benefits. Like Monica mentioned, you want to make sure Capital One Venture X, and believe me, I do know now, even though when I'm recording this, I got plenty of time this year, I had forgotten. So I'm going to take advantage of this travel credit. Absolutely, because it's free money, basically, the $300.
Mhm.
The Chase Sapphire Reserve. This is an easy one, thankfully. As long as you take that credit card out sometime in the year for some travel charges, boom, it's done automatically. I like that one. Chase Sapphire Preferred has a $50 annual hotel credit. Again, you have to use it in order to get it, and it has to be booked through their portal. So it's really smart to have some of these listed out. Maybe that grid I showed you before, put the bonuses down as well in that grid to remind you, go back to it once a quarter to make sure you run some of these charges through. Imagine if you have, for instance, an American Express Platinum card. Look at all these credits. You need to take advantage of these, right? They have an annual credit, $200, but you got to choose the airline in advance. So you need to make sure you choose an airline where you have checked baggage charges and maybe you buy alcohol on board, or you'll never get this credit. This Uber Cash credit, right? We use Uber all the time, but sometimes I forget to change from my normal Venture X card to Amex once a month to get that credit. This hotel credit is only if you go through these hotels, but there's hundreds of these hotels. So it's worth a shot in order to get that $200. This digital subscription, again, is $20 per month. The clear credit, these are all things you want to be aware of that come with your card. It's no understatement for me to say that this could be a few $100s a year. It could be $1,000 a year. Basically, free money back in your pocket just by taking 5, 10, 15 minutes, right? To remember these.
And if you've ever shown up at pre-check and there's been a massive line there, you'll understand the value of the clear credit because it's always good to have a backup way to expedite your pass through security.
Another one definitely is don't procrastinate on your bookings. I know you're busy and it's hard to remember sometimes all the various things you need to book. But the best thing I've done is I'm a pretty good planner. So I haven't made this mistake too often. The few times that I have, I've completely regretted forgetting, oh, I booked the car rental. And sure enough, the rates are twice as much as they should have been. In fact, we had a trip recently. We were in San Diego. I don't think I'd booked the car rental. And I know we paid twice as much as we should have. And Monica knows this. Book early and book refundable. Now the magic happens, right? Because now you can rebook for lower fares. You can be flexible. You can change to a different hotel, different car rental, whatever you want, because you got the flexibility and you booked early. So now you have a chance to change and rebook and save money along the way. These two work hand in hand together and can save you a ton of money. Sometimes you get into a frenzy, a bidding war on upgrades. That could be for a better cruise cabin, an airline seat. Maybe you have the opportunity to go from economy to business class. That's exciting. Sometimes even on a hotel room, you might get offered from a regular room to a suite. That's why we kind of like to get hotel status because we never have to worry about this because we get upgrades for free most of the time if they're available. But certainly we have bid on multiple times on cruise cabin upgrades. The times that I've made a mistake is when I didn't know what that suite would have cost me at the time I originally made the booking. Here is my strategy, and this is what I want you to follow. When you book that balcony cabin on the cruise, make note of what the suite would have cost you. So let's say the balcony was 3,000 and the suite was 8,000. That's a $5,000 difference. Then when the cruise line 45 days out, 30 days out says, "Hey, congratulations. We are going to let you bid on a suite." And you get really excited because now the trip's coming close and you get caught up in the frenzy and you use the little slider that they have. And those sliders are really ingenious. They always tell you your bid is weak. Don't worry about what they're telling you. You go with what you said is the max that you will bid. So when I told you the difference was $5,000, I in advance will put a note down. And in my mind, I will pay no more than 50% of that. So $2,500. That's the most I personally am willing to go. And by doing this, I don't get kind of suckered into it when the frenzy starts. And if I get 2,500 bucks or less, awesome. The same goes for airline. Hotel, I don't really expect you to like record too much on suites and things like that, but just at least be aware of what these things cost. A lot of times, by the time you put your upgrade in and what you originally paid, you probably many times are paying more than what it would have cost because they're going to give you these sliders telling you, once it gets up to good or very good, it's already more than you would have spent in the original booking. Don't let that happen to you. Don't pay attention to those. Know your max bid and don't spend a penny more. If you like these tips, we have a whole bunch more to share with you in unlocking the secrets to traveling the world on a budget. It's a free download that you can download right away just by going to the QR code you see on the screen or the link digitalromads.com, which is our website /free. And you can instantly download this free guide and discover how to save thousands on your next trip. And we would really appreciate it if you would like this video and click the subscribe. Did you know that 90% of the people watching our channel right now are not subscribers? So if that's you, please help us out. Click subscribe. It helps us out quite a bit with YouTube, and we really do appreciate that. One, that if you do take cruises, and we have a lot of content on our channel about cruises, and we've talked about this before, Don't rely on cruise ship shore excursions. I can't believe I said that without stuttering. 50% of the time, we've actually regretted the booking. They're super expensive. We do far better when we plan our own itineraries where we're stopping. I'll put a link down below how you can do that. Or if we book something small group, there'll be a link down below as well. You're going to save a lot of money. You're going to be way happier. Try not to lean into these too hard. There are definitely destinations where it makes a lot of sense. Maybe you're concerned about the timing, security, or it's really far. I get it. That makes sense. But probably half the time you do not need a shore excursion and you'll be way happier avoiding it.
Another thing that we've not really thought much about over the years was travel insurance. It's easy to misunderstand travel insurance or not to think it's going to apply to you or your trip, but the reality is eventually it might. Now that we're traveling the world full time, we have travel insurance that will cover us around the world and also when we're back in the United States.
Really, the best thing to do is the travel insurance tends to be very inexpensive. It's just one of those things you can apply for online. You get coverage pretty much immediately and it doesn't cost very much. We'll put a link down below to SafetyWing. They can be a really good choice if you want to look at them for your travels. You can use it just for a specific trip or even an extended period of time that you're gone. But I think definitely if you're traveling international, make sure you get some travel insurance to cover you for a variety of different things. Go through the policy just so you know what's covered. All right, so I'm going to challenge all of you to take the carry on challenge. If you can, try not to check your bag. I know this is hard to do, Monica. What do you think?
Yeah, it is a struggle. Some of us struggle with it a little more than others, but it can be done, and I'm proof of that.
And once you go carry on, you really tend never to go back. Be aware of the weight of your bags because if you go overweight, it costs a lot of money, both for carry ons and checked bags. There's a lot of great hacks using packing cubes to compress things. Always put an air tag in, whether you do a carry on or a checked bag, because you never know when they might grab the carry on and force you to check it. So that does happen. But the biggest thing I can recommend is be sure what you get from that specific airline, because we have definitely made the mistake a few times where we knew that they would allow us to have, for instance, a personal bag and a carry-on, but because we didn't pay a little bit extra, it was a super small carry-on that was way smaller than the one we had. And if we would have just went for a different fare, it would have cost us a bit more with booking the ticket. This was on, I believe, EasyJet. We would have had to pay a little bit more upfront. But at the gate, when they were forcing us to try to fit that bag into a really tiny box, they were going to charge us $60 or $75, which probably online would have cost me $20, $25. Be sure it covers if you're doing carry on a personal bag and that your dimensions fit. Also, make sure you prepay for anything you know you're going to have, including if you check the bag. It's always going to be cheaper by doing that. Whether you check or carry on, be really careful because these days they're cracking down really hard on people who are bringing a personal bag, a fanny pack, and a carry on. They're saying, no, your little fanny pack is now your personal item, and they won't allow it. They'll either make you combine it or you'll have to pay extra or check one of those bags. I don't think you want to check your fanny pack, but you'll end up having to check a bag and pay $50, $75, $100.
Those European budget airlines allowance in the cabin is getting smaller and smaller. So it's important to be prepared for that.
The good news is the EU sounds like they're going to set a minimum that these airlines can no longer make it less than those minimums. But even then, you're going to need to know what those dimensions are.
The bottom line is if you can embrace the carry on lifestyle, it will save you in baggage fees. You won't have to stand around the carousel and wait for 30 or 40 minutes for the bags to come off, and peace of mind because you won't lose your luggage again.
I can't tell you how many times we probably have already been at the hotel when I'm thinking, like, you know what? There are people still waiting on their bags. So make your life better and save money at the same time. That's a win win.
We've all seen the horror stories of all the overcrowded cities in Europe during the summer. From time to time, we have also fallen prey to ignoring seasonal travel opportunities. Peak season chaos. It's overcrowded. You're competing for resources constantly, higher prices as well. It's not a pleasant experience. Shoulder season is a great time to go pretty much anywhere. That's what we have tried to do. Another thing to consider is an off peak adventure. For example, we went to Tokyo in January a few years ago. It snowed. It was really beautiful. It was the biggest snowfall they had in 4 years. We enjoyed the vibe with snow on the ground. It was a nice experience.
Just be sure that you investigate the weather in shoulder seasons or off peak, just to make sure that's okay. And I understand sometimes you got to go peak travel. Just know what you're getting into with peak travel. If you have to go peak, plan way far in advance. You'll save a lot more money. There's a lot more flexibility in shoulder season, spring, fall, or even off peak. Like Monica mentioned, if you're somewhere in the winter that's not typically a winter destination, you can many times travel there last minute and absolutely look for rebooking opportunities because prices many times will go down because they're not as popular or as busy at that time. One last tip from us, this one may not necessarily save you a lot of money, but you'll be glad that you did it. We talked a lot about planning early for your hotels and your air. Make sure you also remember what you're going to do when you get there and plan early on tours, on attractions, on dining. Sometimes when you do pre book, you can have some savings on some attractions or tours that can be cheaper early on. Make them cancelable. So if you don't go on the trip, there's no penalty, no fees. This can really make for a better trip. Maybe doesn't save you a lot of money, but really makes for a better trip overall.
But it could save some aggravation. Have you ever been to a place where you thought it would be a no-brainer, but then there's some big event going on and suddenly there's no restaurants available or hotels or anything like that, and you really wished you'd booked sooner. So this will avoid all of that.
So you made it to the end. We hopefully have saved you hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars if you follow all of these. Definitely will carry it through. Don't make the mistakes that we've made. I think we've become much more organized on these topics, and we're not going to make these mistakes. Let's make a promise to each other. No more of these mistakes. We're going to save as much as possible and have a great trip. Remember to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we look forward to seeing you out there.
Do as we say and not as we do.